today, so I'm gonna read your bio, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So Zongxee Lee is a Hmong herbalist, a registered nurse, a self-taught ethnobotanist, a floral farmer, photographer, and author, and I'm gonna add mother, right? Rooted in the lineage of Hmong herbalists and shamans, she self-published 30 Days of Purification in 2016, a postpartum guide highlighting traditional Hmong plant medicine. She's a founder of Zongxee Conservatory, Botanical Garden, a cultural and botanical initiative focused on researching DNA sequence of Hmong postpartum herbs, preserving and educating about Hmong medicinal plants and holistic healing practices. Her work has been featured at national conferences and universities, bridging ancestral wisdom with modern wellness. Alongside her mother, Mai Li, and her sister, Mompaj Lee, Zongxee helped launch Minnesota's first culturally based healing meals using traditional Hmong herbs, offering integrative care to patients. Through workshops, public events, and seed to bloom storytelling, she continues to inspire communities to reconnect with healing tradition, plant by plant, story by story. I first encountered her work last year out at the Arboretum, where they did this gigantic to-do I was at like kind of the main event, but the core, the heart of what was going on out there is that they call it gardener in residence. How do they call it? Yeah, there was a beautiful garden planted with all of these plants that have all these stories that I'm sure you're gonna be talking about, but I just also wanted to name that, like, the experience of walking through it was the experience of being introduced to a lot of really new plants that were really unfamiliar to me, which was such a beautiful experience. I'm really glad to have the teachings that go along with that here, and welcome.
All right, thank you. I was one of doing this platform, and I discovered about your mission recently too, and I love the mission behind it to really give all the plant people, herbalists, earth healers a place to really voice and learn more about this. So I love the mission. So anyways, I'm probably just gonna start the presentation due to time. And again, my name is Zongxee. Zongxee is the initial pronunciation. You call me Zong, Dong, doesn't matter. You know you're calling for me. I'm not gonna tell my age, but I heard and all. I know you're calling for me. Okay, but there's so many. So I'm here today to talk about Hmong herbs, but there's so many Hmong herbs out there that I'm specifically going to narrow down to the most common Hmong herbs that are being shared in the United States or at markets, and you're going to see it frequently to a point when you're going to know it, so that you know what they are, because you're going to see your neighbors. And we're in a community in Minnesota, we're so diverse that you're going to see either patients or either whoever you encounter that are Hmong, they might be using this type of herbs. So that's what I'm here to teach you guys about today. I specifically call this presentation Hmong Chicken Diet Herbs. So, because we're going to focus on chicken diet herbs and what I did with that moving forward with the research. Okay. And of course, Emily did such a great job at my bio, but this is some of the stuff that I do. And the conservatory is basically, it's not really a conservatory. We don't expect to come there and see a glass dome, glass window with a bunch of herbs in it. I'm manifesting that I want a Hmong conservatory, and it's going to be named after me, right? But one of these days, it might be all a dream. But if you were to come to my home right now, you see a little hut, and if you could make a 90 turnaround, and all you see is little Hmong plants around you, and that's my conservatory. But I think that it's okay to dream big, all right? And so the reason why I'm doing this is basically trying to conserve and preserve the Hmong herbs. My mission is basically to influence, identify, practice, preserve the Hmong herbs, and all our holistic practices with our mind, body, spirit. And I'm sure you guys all have that similar mission as we're all here. And so I hope that you guys can take something today and learn it, or take it with you. If you don't, that's fine. But these are herbs that don't really have names, but I'll tell you how I found the names here, okay? And so this is just me talking about my little hoop house. It's actually a hoop house. It's not. you'll know what I mean, right? If you follow me on Facebook, you'll see my little group house. You'll know what I mean. I'm so proud of it because I've been collecting my Hmong herbs in there, okay? All right, and you may wonder who the Hmong people are, and I just put a little description here of who the Hmong people are. We are a specific type of culture, we're not Chinese, we did originate from China. Some Hmong left China to Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, Burma, beginning in the 1800s. As a result of land expansion by the Chinese government. So basically, we got kicked out of China. So we just dispersed. As far as how the Hmong people tell their history, they keep on saying we're from Laos, but we're not Laotians either. So we're basically indigenous people of Southeast Asia. Okay, and how we ended up here in the United States during the secret CIA army, it happened during the Vietnam War. The Americans recruited the Hmong people. And what happened is my father is actually one of those soldiers, and they ended up recruiting them, and they were fighting with the Americans. And eventually in the 1975, when the US pulled out, they made a promise that they were going to bring us here to America. And so they gathered us up as refugees in Thailand and brought us to, some of us just kind of dispersed to Australia, France, Canada, Germany. A lot of them came here to the United States. And that's how my parents ended up here. I came when I was 1, and I was one of those kids where they almost poisoned the opium in order to cross from Thailand to Bangkok, from Laos to Thailand. Because if my father didn't escape, he was found to be one of the soldiers. He had some uniform and whatnot. So if they caught him, he will get killed. So it took us a couple of months to walk from where we were in Laos to Thailand, crossed the Mekong River, got there, I almost died, ate sand, survived at 1 year old, came here, and I think I'm still alive to tell you guys a story. And that story is currently being featured at the Minnesota Arboretum in my exhibit there, okay? So next thing here, I'm just gonna, it's just a little census of how many population here. We're such a small population here for the Hmong people, 360,000 estimated at 2025. I didn't get the exact number, but that's just an estimate, and every source has a different number, but I'm gonna put that out there. And the reason why the population is so small, were the research behind the Hmong herb is not critical because the population doesn't call for it, right? So I took it to the next step where to a point where we had to find a scientist, and I have to admit the U of M has been nothing but generous and grateful in supporting me. I have to give them credit for that, okay? So this is how Hmong herbs looks like, okay? You're gonna go to some Hmong town, Hmong village, you're gonna see a stash of herbs. It looks something very similar to traditional Chinese medicine, right? And you could see just twigs, nuts and bolts, and sometimes you see claws and animal organs, which is not allowed anymore. At one time, these towns and village markets were invaded because those are not allowed to transport. So they've been keeping a close eye on those markets, but they were used as remedies in the culture. The right side picture, on the right side, you guys, yes, that's my recipe to the COVID. When COVID hit us, that was the recipe to lower your to basically to decrease the amount of symptoms that you're having. So you can see that what we did with these herbs is we went ahead and crushed them up and mixed it. And this one is basically a tea that we made out of these, okay? And so what is the chicken? We're not going to talk about those other herbs. We're going to go directly to the chicken diet herbs. And this chicken diet, and they're also, the chicken diet herbs are basically raw. You can either use it raw or dry, okay? And the Hmong chicken diet herb, the reason why I'm focusing on those herbs is because you could see if you work in any healthcare system, or if you were to run into any family, they know the chicken diet. Basically, these are herbs that you could see a lot of the Hmong people, every family will at least grow one of them. If you have a Hmong neighbor, go knock on the door, they'll show you a Hmong herb, they'll know what you're talking about. But the question is, what are those names, right? It's been practiced for so many generations, every time a Hmong woman has given birth or they go full surgically, they will end up having to take this diet for 30 days, especially for the Hmong women that have given birth. And it's every meal for 30 days strict, okay? And we don't know how long we've been practicing this, but this is my version of how I understand this. Traditional Chinese medicine has been discovered in 200 BC. If we originate from China, our medications and our practice look so similar to theirs. The more I look research into our traditional practices, they are so identical to the Chinese medicine. So I'm going to claim that as 200 BC is how far we've been practicing the Hmong Chicken Diet. And then this, all right, and then I'm going to go next here. And so the Hmong postpartum diet, I practiced it for all my 5 children. I have 5 kids. It really didn't struck me hard until I had my first child. He is currently, 22 or 22 years old. He's already out of the home, working as an adult. So 22 years ago, when after I gave birth to him, I had to get these names down, but we all had the Hmong names. We only had the Hmong names. We didn't have the English terms. So at that time, Yahoo was available. Google apps were not available. The reason I remember that is because I remember going to Yahoo and Yahoo was famous at that time. So I'm digging through it and I try to match the plants, or you would go to like Botanical or the Conservatory to look at these plants. You take the plant, try to identify and see, or sometimes you go to the NARS or in any nursery, a local nursery, and you'll try to identify what the English term is. Because as children, as the first generation here, we understand the language, we just don't have the English name, whether it's whether or not if it's the actual plant or not. So back to the 30-day practice, we call that Nyong Do Li. It's basically stay for 30 days, restricted indoors. That's what's basically interpreting. And during those 30 days, you just focus on your baby and there are restrictions that you're supposed to follow. And my previous manual, I'm just going to read a few restrictions that you need to do while you're on those 30-day practice. If any of you ever work with postpartum Hmong women and they ever talk to you about their non-do-li, the 30-day practice, this is what they're actually doing. I'm only going to read the verse 5. There's actually 13 things that you're not supposed to be doing. But you do not jump, run, or climb. That's number 1. And no one ever explains to you, why can't you do that? But my background is in nursing, right? So because your parents they're not illiterate, they just never really had documents when they came to this country. No one put this in paper down anywhere. So what I did is, basically this is to prevent a prolapse cord, right? You don't want your organs falling out. It's pretty common sense. 2, do not touch or bathe in cold water. And Chinese have this yin and yang qi kind of practice where you're supposed to keep cold and hot. Well, the Hmong people are very similar. They want to keep everything warm after postpartum. So to prevent, it's basically to prevent tingling in fingers when aged. The rationale behind that is that if you ruin your circulation because you're so prone to illnesses and you're fresh out of having, even just post-surgical, right? Like after you have surgery or after you have a baby, you lost so much blood and you're having a circulation issue. You want to be careful when you do that, okay? And then I'm actually going to read up to 3 here. And do not stand for a long period of time or walk more than 10 minutes. This is to prevent lower back pain and knee problems. But here I was a postpartum nurse actually. We need to get these, what conventional medicine believe is get up, start walking, get circulation going, right? So you're in there, you're trying to get this postpartum mom up and you don't want to walk. But then culturally, when you really think about it, it kind of makes sense. So yes, it's okay for them to get up, but you can't really drag these patients out of their bed. I love postpartum because of that. It's a huge dispute with whether should I stay in this job that pays well with all these ethical questions, or should I so I stayed for a while, to be honest, the pay, but I loved it. for a huge cut to pay, but I think that they could do better in our postpartum care in America. I swear, I did not like waking up the patient when they didn't wanna walk, they're bleeding, it's just 24 hours. And I'm kind of like, well, I'm not gonna go there and argue with manager, well, in my culture, you're supposed to stay in bed. So it's almost like, okay, well, if she starts hemorrhaging, you just get the red cup ready, right? So, those are the 3 that you're supposed to do as restrictions, okay? There's more to it, but I'm not gonna talk about that, because I'm gonna go into the herbs, that's what we're all here for, right? So, even those practices, modern new generations do not believe in this practice, because they don't know the herbs. And what they're doing right now is they're using Google apps to identify this. They're misidentifying it, they're going out there, and the ones that do wanna practice it are getting the wrong herbs. And the ones that are selling it don't even know if it's toxic or not, they're grabbing random plants that look like it and they're selling it in home markets, right? And no one's checking on it, because you know what, they need to practice this after 30 days. So the question is, how safe are we getting these postpartum diets? My mom and my grandmother, I know it's safe because they've been practicing it. My grandmother was a shaman, my grandfather was a shaman. So doesn't mean that shaman only understands this, but it's because they're basically herbalists, Hmong herbalists, and they use it so frequently, so they can identify, smell, and suddenly you are plant people, so you can look at a plant and go right away, this is what it is, and that's kind of how it was, right? So, after the inconsistent identification, there are people blogging, saying that the is the Joe Pye weed. You don't eat Joe Pye weed for the Hmong chicken diet. People are using that need to go purchase this, right? Or they will just get seeds from random Amazon and try to sell that or try to plant that. So what happened? The University of Minnesota came and met up with my mom. She was actually the initial person that initiated this actual study. They came in, they spoke to her, and they said, we're looking for some research that no one has ever really done. And she said, you know what? I'm selling a lot of these Hmong herbs at the market, and a lot of these Hmong people and even Caucasian are interested, right? They're coming to ask me what they are. My customers don't know what they are. So what can we do to figure out what these truly are? And then they go, well, you know what the name is. She gives them all the Hmong names. She names all 30, 20, 100 plants Hmong names. And they go, what are the English names? And she asks them, well, what do you think? So the one of them says, at that time, well, look at your connective. So eventually it got shut down, and then Natalie Boydell, she's my right hand person. I have to admit, this girl did a groundbreaking job. Research, I have to give her a lot of credit. It's not really me, it was who came up with the idea. He said, why don't we identify them with DNA sample? And she goes, what do you think, Zong? And at that time I was guarding my mom. I was just her backup person making flowers for her. This is an inside joke behind that, but anyways, and basically helping my mom. And then I said, let's do this. So this is how the whole, and all along, before that, my sister actually started this research too, but it was only identifying by long names and using Yahoo. And also asking, interviewing random people, so they tallied to see the actual name. And that's how she got it, but it wasn't really as accurate as it. So we move forward, use this DNA sample idea, and this is Alex Trump on the right side. She is a remarkable doctor. She looks tremendously young, but full of knowledge. I love her. And this is her with her intern, and they're collecting one of the herbs there. And what this herb does is actually helps you with your cellulitis and your vein perfusion. And what she's doing is she collects the plant, she takes a little sample, put in a little plastic bin. That's for another sample for another different kind of to find another constituent. She takes it, she collapses it into this book, she shoves it into this thing and presses it down, and then she tightens it so that it presses down that so that they can have the actual plant. So she takes a pretty good long sample, just like right there, you see that, and then there's a paper she rolls over it. And that's how they come collect the sample. And here she is in the lab, they throw it into this little teeny little thing, big as your pinky size here, and a couple chemical fluids. I usually don't touch it, because if you ruin the chemistry of it, you can't get the right DNA sample, and it costs for one little petri dish is thousands of dollars. It's not even petri dish anymore, to be honest, it's more like little tubes, like little blood tubes. And they spin it and it comes out and here's the baby. This is my new baby ultrasound. And you know when that mad scientist says, and Frankenstein's alive, and he's like, it's alive, what? Well, that was me when I saw this, because the reason is, if you match this up with the sequence and this automatically tells you that this is either a new plant that we discovered or an old plant that has been identified. So by taking this DNA sample, it looks like nothing, it looks like a bunch of sticks, right? To me, it looks like an ultrasound. So I carry this in my purse right now. I could even show you guys one of them, my first ultrasound. I call it ultrasound. There's a name for it. I forgot the name of it, but they're DNA sequencing. And then what's happened so far is 101% of the time, all these plants has been identified in their catalog at the U of M. Because in their biology department, if you ever want to know a plant, you bring the DNA there, they could scan through it, they could tell you, and then if it doesn't match any of the plants, then that means you have discovered a new plant, okay? So here is my research team. I know there are better photos out there, but I had to show them off to you guys today. And this is the most recent, Lindsay is the gal with the blonde hair with the swipe on side. She's my photographer. She's never in front of the camera. And that's the only photo I found of her today. And I want to show her off. And my mom's on the right. And then Alex is the Dr. Alex from on the left. And Nellie Hoyle is the gal right, the second to the left. So 1, 2, from left to right. And so this is my team of researcher. And there are other people involved as well. We had a bunch of intern by I lost track of who they are. I'm sure there's like a million people that were involved. But they were in the lab just chomping things down so that we could find out what these plants are. And I'm not going to tell you how many plants we did, because that will be in my book coming up next spring. It was supposed to come out in August, but we pushed it out because we're waiting for one flower to bloom. And the only way you can identify a plant is by their blooms and their babies. And we're waiting for that. And it just bloomed this month. Okay. And here you go. These are the common chicken herb soup diet. Okay. There are more to this, but I'm only going to show you the 8 right here. And these 8 here are the ones that are commonly used. The more sicker you are after postpartum, or the more you are traumatized, or the more you are any ailment, you put more herbs into it, or you take some out. The combination could be very complex, but because people don't know anymore, you just do them a diagram and say, here, take these, because as a common person or a normal person, this is what they typically take, right? So this is the photo I'll show people. There's 8 of them, and these are all in Hmong. And this is how it's always been categorized. It'd be for the DNA sample, but now we have all the English term plus the botanical name and its catalog. And I created Hmong names, Hmong common English names, so that people know. And I created those common Hmong names, and I'm just so proud of it. But anyways, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so the first one, there's almost like 100 of them, but I'll only show you guys 3 today. Okay, so the first one here, if you ever see any people, any Hmong market people, anybody, patients, and they're using this plant, is called a Lee. Okay, and then Lee, what does it mean in Lee, right? And I'm going to have you pass this around so people can see the actual plant. Okay, so what is the Lee? Lee mean in Hmong means either an inch or it means a flick plant. I have a dispute between the 2 names. Which common name do I want to catalog this in our Bellevue Museums at the University of Minnesota, right? And someone's stuck at the door. I hear a doorbell. So the question is, I'm not going to call it an inch plant, because we have another Hmong plant that's called an inch plant, right? And even in English terms, so I'm going to call it flick plant. So when you want to flick someone off, you right? And I'm not going to say anything else, but flick plant. Okay. And we found the botanical name, Euportorium orchinae. That's the botanical name. So if you ever needed to find this plant, there it is, right? back in the days, all we had was the Hmong name, and every English person will, and English speaking person will call it a Lee, like, oh, it's the Lee, but what is the Lee, right? And to us, the word is just Lee, but now, if we were to ask my kids, the next generation, it's the inch plant, and you explain to them, the leaf is only an inch long, and it's called flick plant, right? Because when you flick, you only can flick an inch far. So my kids can identify it now. So basically, I'm doing this for the next generation, so they understand.
Can we taste it?
Yes, you could taste it. Yeah, you could taste it. If they're edible, they're okay. Don't kid it. Yeah, so, if you're interested, yes, you could taste it. And then, use how our ancestors, elderly, how they taught this to us is they use it for milk production and promote appetite. And this is in combination with other herbs, but this is what you use it for. Research has shown that this plant is used in China, Korea to relieve nausea, vomiting, and poor appetite. So there, after I found the plant, what we did is we took it and compared to the rest of the article in any just article of plants. I lost my document track, I was gonna say, but one of them was the research in 2021 that showed that, and it aligns pretty well with what the elderly has been teaching us. The only thing is that Hmong people never really documented this down. And the question is, how are we gonna learn that, Grandma, like when you're gone? And during the time when I was cataloging and researching through all this, I lost both my grandmother. I lost my mom's mom first, my maternal grandmother, and then my paternal grandmother passed away. So it was a long process. It took us 4 years to collect all this. But I started my actual book in 2015. That's when I lost them, but I didn't have support at that time. Okay, so going on to the next one here is Lia. Okay, Hmong call it Gata mean foot. Lia mean red duck feet, right? So I created the name red duck feet. So now if you were to go to any herbalists, Hmong herbalists out there, or seller vendors, if you said, do you sell Hmong red duck feet? Some of them will know what that is. Or you said Alia, and the botanical names are Tunisia, Latin, Flora. And what this plant does is it help with strength and endurance, expel lochia. Lochia is like your menstrual cycle after you give birth. And it helps you control that so you don't hemorrhage. So it's not really making you have an actual period or menstruation, but it also helps you have a good flow so that you're not going to clot or not have it at all. But it's okay for you to, you're supposed to have in order to help your, I lost my train of thought. You know, to be honest with you guys, I'm recovering from Lyme disease. I got bit by chicken. I have a little bit of neurological brain fog, and I don't know why. And I just took antibiotics, so I just have to put that out there. Anyways, it helps with your uterine muscle strengthening. Okay, there you go. And this plant can be used as a poultice alone, let alone from the postpartum diet as the sprains and bruises. And what you want to do with this, if you ever have sprains and bruises, take them up and you want to crush it all up, okay? And you basically smash it all up, make it nice into a poultice, warm it up. You don't want to warm it in a microwave. I'm kind of anti-microwave, but you want to warm it up like over an oven, just so it's nice and warm. You throw this big chunk of you need a lot more than this over that bruise. Wrap it around. It's a dirty work to do, but that's what our grandma said. Trust me, it's not just the Hmong culture. Your grandma did it too. Okay, so you do that. Keep it on for a good 7 days or so. It'll help with that. Okay. Yes, you could taste it if you're comfortable tasting it. Yeah, it shouldn't do anything to you. I'm 45. I'm still alive. Okay, so. And then research shows that this article has antioxidants, anti-inflammatory property, rich in beta carotene, riboflavin. Okay, you see it right there, iron, protein, and calcium. Okay, so there are more research to this, but I only pick the top one and the most recent. Okay, and the Zongxee, okay, Zongxee is a very hard term in Hmong terms, but it is basically it looks like a mulch, it looks like a shrub. It's basically it's just like the flower chrysanthemum indigo, right? And it's really bushy, it grows up to be kind of 2 feet or so. And this treats headaches, it's considered to be very toxic for blood and colon and improved digestion metabolism. So even before this has been discovered, the Hmong people and the elderly and how your parents taught you is that, oh, well, you take this if you're having, if you feel like your lochia or your menstrual cycle is not coming out very clear, it looks like it's dead blood, take this, right? And it pretty much aligns to what they are saying because there was a lot of research show that this plant is native to Asia, northeastern Europe, has traditionally been used for treating cancer, pneumonia, colitis, stomatitis, fever, and is known to pose antibacterial and antioxidant properties. So it's high in anti-inflammatory. So this means that there's some truth to what our parents has been telling us, or our grandparents have been telling us, it's just haven't never been documented. Okay. And here's this one that no, everyone's been misidentifying, and I found the name. And so it's called Zhe Chuan Dua. Okay. This is the Zongxee, and this is the Zhe Chuan Dua. Okay, this is the Zongxee. Yep. That's a chrysanthemum, and this is the Zhe Chuan Dua right here. Okay. That's the same thing as this one here too. Cook with the leaf and grow like it. Yeah. And so, excuse me. Let's take this in. Yeah.
That was the third one.
Yeah, that was the third one, this one right here, yep, and I'm passing her out right now. And it's kind of dead because I kind of picked it this afternoon, so you're planting some water, but they're still lovely. So this is Zhe Chuan Dua. Zhe means ripples, like on the edge of like ripple from cliff. Chuan Dua means ripple, ripped edges of cascade on a mountain. That's how they describe it. Because the reason when they say that, if you look at the plant on the edge, there's some teeth-like edges. And so I call this rough edge, period. It's a rough edge plant. So that when my kids, I were to send them out to your garden, say, go get me the rough edge plant. If you're gonna say Hmong, Zhe Chuan Dua, if they remember, great. If they don't, if they rough edge, they'll go to find it. And so it is Zooxis flora. And that's the name. Before people were randomly naming this plant in every botanical name there is out there because it was hard to find, but DNA was able to find that. This is used in chicken diet to promote endurance. It has a minty flavor and if you use it in large quantity, it can make the chicken soup taste strongly of mint. The leaves are known for their pleasant smell. If you can take a leaf and smell it, it is the most potent thing ever. Okay. So in my blend, in my bag that I give to the guys there, I will tell you guys what that smells. If you smell it now, you'll know what I mean. And what this really is, if you are having sleep paralysis, or if you're having anxiety, or if you're having any sorts of overall, if you're a Christian, you might not be so into spiritual, that's some conflict in the Hmong culture, whether it's spiritual enough, but you could just pray. But I'm a Christian, but that's a whole new topic in itself. What you do is you would dry this plant, make a little red triangle, stuff this plant in there, and the night before your sleep paralysis, you put that on your chest, you on a pin, you could put it on your wrist, and it's supposed to repel that. If it doesn't work, give me a call, we'll do a blessing and chant to get rid of it. And then you have to wear it again, okay? And it has to be sewn with other herbs in combination. All right.
We try to slow you down so people can taste the herbs. And they can catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you get seeds to grow these? Were they brought over? Yes.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot too. Right now, the reason why I'm conserving it is because some of them are not seeds. Some of them are by the roots. This one, for instance, by the roots. It is impossible or hard to keep this one alive. So what you do is you plant so many of them together. I'm exposing my secret. You plant them so close together, in the winter time, you bring them inside, some roots are gonna rot, some are gonna live, and that's how you keep it alive. For this one, and when custom check were easier. We were able to get it, now we can't. Right now, we just have to be very careful on, how to preserve it. And last year alone, we spent $5,000 alone to keep it alive between fall, the moment we got frost until May. Me and my mom were praying for warm weather, to keep these chunk of, roots to stay alive. I don't know how other vendors are doing it, because I always see a ton of people selling them. And I'm asking them, what is your secret? One of these days, I'm gonna walk into their greenhouse and figure out what they did. Or they either just have a nice heated room, because it'll go dormant and it'll come back alive. So mine will go dormant and comes back alive, and then we'll propagate it and resell it for the spring. Yeah. So, and the only one that I keep seeds from is Gully Sang is Jewel Park. Jewel Park is also part of this, but I'm not gonna talk about that plant today, but it is also part of the diet, okay? And then research documented, so this, you can use it for a child and adult, could wear that little red triangle. Research has documented in traditional medicine for colds, anti-inflammatory purposes, analgesic, okay? And you could see a bunch of other elements that it can also help as well, pneumonia, bronchitis, malaria. Okay. Oops. So there's over 50 plants that can be used in combination to create the Hmong chicken diet, but you don't put all 50 plants into one diet. The reason is it will be super bitter, and you have to know the combination of taking one away, putting together. If you have swallowing your legs after birth, you add the there's a crawling jewel. That's the that's one the common name for it, but I forgot the actual botanical name. But that's one that you add into it and take out one of them. The and the red duckweed, as I'm saying, you can see it now, right? Red duckweed and the flick plant, you can see that too. That's how we're all gonna learn. And that's why I feel like I'm a genius. Just having those two. Now that I say that, you automatically know it is. But if I were to say the wrong name, you're not gonna know what it is. Nor you're gonna know the botanical name, right? But now that I say that, so that's why my mission is basically get people to get that picture stick in their head, and to get these vendors to understand the common name, so that our Hmong plants can't die. Because if it's not a Hmong kid that isn't gonna, I don't care, at least a Asian kid or and passionate person that loves plants out there and understand it, that's fine. But anyways, for instance, red melon, I don't know why I put this example up there, but red mellibar is high in iron, right? And Hmong people always preach about, oh, if you're sick, throw a whole bunch of red mellibar in there. The red mellibar is man cha lia. Man cha means veins. Lia, red vine vein. So that's some common name. So you throw a whole bunch of red vine vein in there, and you will bring up your iron, and suddenly you're not, they call it yellow air, like you're too yellow air, like too pale. And so take it for nice 30 days and boom, your iron is back up, right? So we just have never had these documented. And I think just in general, I just feel very privileged and very fortunate that I was brought here to America and help with education to really understand all this, and that there are scientific back behind that. This is how the chicken soup diet would look like with the batch of herbs. It's just a very small batch like that. It's not a lot, because you throw a bunch in there. It's like a tip of everything, and you just throw it into your chicken. You boil your chicken, you throw your herbs in there. The more raw your herbs is, actually the more stronger and it is. If you let your herbs boil for a long time, basically you kill all the constituents. So you wait till your chicken is almost ready, and you throw it at the end, so that you get most of it. But it's so hard for me to explain that to people. I just throw it in, and it's just because it comes out to different. But towards the last 5 minutes, we'll let it boil 5 minutes, no more than that. Then that way you get all the constituents from the herbs. Okay, and so I just want to brag a little bit about how Dr. Alex did the CNA sequence for me. I really wasn't in the lab with her, I was there to basically herbal. But we were not allowed to touch anything because it is a very costly process. And here, what are my goals moving forward? I am still looking into to see how effective this herb is. I am still planning on influencing not just the Hmong community, but everyone. The whole truth is actually for our children, maybe not for you guys, but for your children. I think that one day one of them might eventually pick this up and use it. And all our conventional medicine does have residuals that are from plants. And so I do believe in plant healing and seed and plant swap in spring. I do that. I'll see that you guys are the organization I was doing. I was thinking of a collaboration eventually in the future. I also carrot flower garden in my yard for people to come take photos. I am more, it's focused on Hmong women and or just women in general. You come, I take photos of you in my flower garden. And basically it's for self-esteem and mental health. But that is my hobby on the side, which I haven't had time to see it on my Facebook with a bunch of little girls or some random girl called Project Hmong Princess. There really isn't a princess in our country. I brought my daughter to Disney World and she's like, Mom, where are the Hmong princes? And I almost bawled and I said to her, there are Hmong princes and we're gonna make that happen. So I call it Hmong Project Hmong Princess. So if there's any Hmong girls that comes along and they want to be a princess, that's fine. That is not excluding any other culture as well. They are also. And then, because I do believe in mental health, I think that's how we all feel. To preserve for our children, and these herbs are to be displayed at Hugo, Minnesota. I do have it at Hugo, Minnesota. I do have it in my little hut at home. And if you guys ever want to look at it, you're welcome to visit or make an appointment for that. Currently at the Arboretum is my exhibit. Over there, it has a nice thorough recipe of how you use it. All my plants are displayed there, the common ones. I didn't put all the plants out there because we're still in the middle of doing that research. You could definitely come and visit my little hoop house. You're welcome to visit my Hugo garden as well. The Hugo garden has my flower there where I sell at Mills Farmer Market and also at King's Field Farmers Market. So I think, well, before we do, I forget here, I'm gonna show you guys the bag that I gave you guys. I actually over packaged it on my regular package because I was trying to get rid of the. So if you open it, you're gonna have these are the chicken diet soup, okay? You're gonna have 2 bags like this. The bottom does not have a Ziploc bag like this. One of this is for a whole chicken, like a 2-pound chicken, but I know that, because I massively packed it, you're gonna split this in half. Okay, so when you boil the chicken, only use half for the whole chicken. If you're gonna do half of your chicken, then you're gonna end up having to do just a little pinch, because you know what, it's so powerful, you can open, you can smell it. So that's how and my recipe might not even go along with what I'm telling you to do, so just let me know. Yes, and then the bottom for the same thing as well, so. Okay. Any questions?
So which of the herbs that you talked about are in this bag?
Yep, I brought this up right here. So in the herb bag right now, there is the Gata, which is the red duck feet. And before I did the research, it was called white mugwort. Okay, so you see there, this little piece of paper. Did you get one of these?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's on the back of this, and then the V is sweet fern, which is the common English term, which is the flick plant. Shunji, the chrysanthemum. So it's not in there, the lemongrass is not in there, to tell you that much. But I put it on here because I had to get rid of these package here. Because I'm making new ones as we're speaking, so I don't want just sitting on the stash here. Chlotomia is the red velvet plant, which I did not talk about today, which is the half red, half white. So if you see something red in your herbs, it's this, all right? And this is the velvet plant. Chochanjo is the one that's green on the other side and green, it's the same. Velvet plant, just one side green one, so you do see little clustered of red in there, it's this one. And the Zhechuando, which is the rough edge is in there. Okay, so those are all in there and it's safe to eat. I did work with a contract with a couple hospitals where they have these meals available. So if you are ever in for surgically at Regent's Hospital or St. John and then interested, you ask them. I try to get doctors to understand this. I remember a doctor walking in and said, "What does that smell?" And so I let the doctor taste it when I had my second child. So I let my doctor, my OB/GYN check it. He was like, "Wow, it's actually pretty good. It smells, but it smells good." Right. And so so influencing that these practitioners, what they are, I think it'll be beneficial too. And so okay, I got sidetracked. Anyways, so these plants are currently offered at the hospital if you want it. If you have a baby, it should be available in postpartum. The region's huge on this, because they're always looking into, having a little mix in their diet. Okay. But it's not known for medicinal diet, it's known for a culturally relevant Hmong chicken diet, okay? That's what you would ask for. Yes, I'm trying to be careful with, the FDA is really strict about how you, so it's hard being a nurse and herbalist, and that's why I never present myself as an herbalist because I'm not a nursing license hold, so I don't want to say medicinal, and I'm not a doctor either, so there's a conflict between it. I have been called on, so for those of you, I mean, if you're very little, you haven't really be in the public, they're not really after you, but when you start selling this and getting involved, boy, they really come after you. So, and I still need to make a living. I don't want to go to jail for just saying something I'm not supposed to, but it's a culture diet. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
I have another one. So what if you're not postpartum? Could you have the chicken diet just like as a tonic?
Yes, I eat it like a regular diet. I mean, not like a regular, like for today, we're gonna have for dinner, we're gonna have the chicken diet. So I just go in the garden, pick it and eat it, just like a regular meal. Yeah. And some people are consistent with the diet in a couple days, like if they have surgery, they do it like a couple days in a row because they know that these remedies will help. So yeah, that's how I do it. If I were to get sick, I would do that. Yeah. Yes.
So if we make this chicken soup and really love it, where do we get more?
Nobody really, restaurant is actually making this. Chef,
Like the herbs, where we get more of the herbs?
Oh, herbs, okay, the herbs my mom sells that at her market.
Okay.
She sells it at her market. Every year we do transplant packages where you could pick it up, where you could plant it yourself. But right now they are sold in packages like the way I was showing in this picture, and sometimes it's a little bigger. That doesn't mean you put the whole package into the thing, you have to count your sums, okay? Some people think you take the whole thing and put it in, but they sell it so big for $15–10. You could find it in Hmong Town and Hmong Market. We sell ours organically. Basically, we don't use pesticide. I don't know where people get their source they're from, but if you feel comfortable, I mean, I still encourage people to go ahead and grab it from there. Or
What market is she at?
my mom's at Mill City's Farmers Market, but because the community there is not really targeted towards the Hmong people, we don't have it there unless you let us know in advance, and we'll have it prepped for you for that weekend. Otherwise, we one time we bought a whole bunch there. It doesn't sell because people don't know what it is. Yeah.
Do you sell it at the Hmong market in St. Paul?
Yeah, they sell it at Hmong Town and Hmong Village Community, Hmong Village Center, which is on Arcade, no,
Johnson?
Johnson Parkway, and then there's one in Como Avenue called Hmong Town. Those two, in the vegetable areas, you will see them in packages, and they're pretty big. But don't put the whole thing in there. You could ask the vendors, they're pretty good at explaining how much of each you want to put in there. And there are some that they're not supposed to put in there because it will make you It thins out your blood, so if you have blood thinners, so that's the thing, we need to go out there and educate, let these vendors know that you can't put this in here, because if people are on blood thinner, they're gonna bleed to death, right? So especially moms that are hemorrhaging. I think they are well known about that, because I did do a public announcement 5 years ago, but I don't know how many people are listening, so, yeah.
So do you ask for chicken herb pack or what do you ask for?
Yeah, you go and you said I like the chotokai or the chicken diet herbs, and usually you'll see it, usually from California, I don't know how they got theirs so big, but it's long and it's like huge, and I'm kind of like, well, gosh, like, what, did you guys grow in the greenhouse or something? But they're giant, the leaves are huge, like the palm of my hand, the size of my hand, so, they have pretty big packages, so if you were to throw a couple in there, it should be okay for one. Yeah, you just ask for chicken diet. They know what you're talking. Just bring my label there and say, I want the chocolate pie right here. Chocolate pie, yeah. And then, these I sell at the farmer's market, seasonally, like right towards the winter time. So. Any other question?
With the propagation, so I know like, even though we upgraded to zone 5, probably none of these are anywhere near like being perennials. Is it just, so like, all of them are being brought in the overwinter as plants, and then are any of them have been able to be saved by seed? Or are they all you're having to take in and stock as whole plants? And
Actually, my book tells you all the perennials. It tells you all the perennials. The chrysanthemum is actually a perennial, believe it or not. But I have to take it back, because one year we had polar vortex and it all died, so I can't, don't take the word for it. But I found hay, I'm telling you a secret again. Hay, straws, and cardboard, plastic, you put that layer, that thing down, and I know you're an all plant person, so do that, just. It takes the worst case scenario, if we're gonna have a freeze, I mean, that's gonna happen, but then it will, if there's a little bit of roots there, it will come back, oh, yeah. So.
So if we wanted to tour your garden, is it better to go to the Arboretum or to go to Hugo and contact you through your website?
The Arboretum is so nice and well laid out with my story right now, you can check it out there. If you wanna pick some and actually, take some home, then my garden, at the Arboretum, they like to keep it for display, so it's harder for you to actually taste and take some. So it's up how you wanna approach it, so if you wanna pick it and take some home, definitely come and visit, and you can also roll around my flower garden, it's a little bit, it's 5 acres, so it's 20 acres, but 5 acres is fenced out for the organic, because that's all we're licensed for organic out there, so that's all I have. And the one, if you wanna actually see my little conservatory, it's actually 30 feet by 70 feet, it's not that small either, but it's not that big, I think it's big as this room. And so if you, but I don't want people to drive all the way down the Hudson just to find out a little room with a bunch of stash of mowers. But it's still very interesting, because you can see other mow plants that I've collected in there. But I haven't really disclosed that, because it's a hot mess in there, I'm gonna leave it for today. And I've been sick. It's embarrassing to have someone drive to Hudson and see. And I mean, if you guys are gardener, it's just these weeds I can't keep up, and it's been very slush with all the rain. So, yeah, so it's up to you how you want to approach it. If you want to take some home, definitely come to a garden, you're welcome to visit there. The Arboretum does have a little fee for mine, there really isn't any charge, you come and you just, and then if you want to purchase the things that you pick, that's fine, you could just go and look and go.
And you said that's in Hudson?
That I'm in Hudson for my little greenhouse, so, okay. And then Hugo is also have mowers out there as well.
How long is that exhibit at the Arboretum?
Oh, that's a good question, it ends in October.
Okay.
And let's hope that there's no frost before that, because something you want, if there's a frost in September, you might go out there and just bunch of dead plants. I think one year people wait till October and they went out there, it was all just all dead. So make your trip worth it by making sure you check the weather. And I'm not always out there. People think I'm sitting there waiting for them for a tour, but I don't. They were worried, we want to visit the arbory, and I'm like, it's just my exhibit. I'm not there. I'm not actually in the location, so.
I'm curious if anybody at the university might want to study like the efficacy of this. I knew a midwife who worked with the Hmong population for a long time, and she was just like, she really attributed the diet to such good outcomes. And so I'm just curious, like, just seems like something else the university might want to take up, like that there could be. People like research before they want to say something, and people like to be evidence-based. So I'm just curious if anybody's like. Or if you know what it makes.
Thank you for the idea. I thought of that, I haven't really reached out to any, I like to reach out to postpartum, and doulas to see if there are interests, but, the reason why I established the Zongxee Conservatory, it's basically to kind of research based too. So I like to move forward with that. I'm in school right now, but I don't want to really announce when I'm gonna graduate, because I may not graduate at all with my time. But when I do, I think I'm gonna take that route in experiment it, or in this lifetime, I might not even get to it. But I am looking into providers and physicians that are interested. But it will not be my study, it might be theirs, because it does cost to do research.
Do you work with some? Yeah.
I have not worked with him, and you know what, he actually sponsored my my opening of my botanical garden. He came there and served his food, it wasn't him, he sent servers and did that, but I have never met the guy. He did order our plants to serve at the state fair, he does it every year for pickled greens. So if those pickle grains, if you guys have it at state fair, those are from our garden. But anyways, I mean, I'm just stoked because he just sort of reached out that I'm such a busy guy. But yeah, at one point I did hear that he offered the chicken diet there, but you guys want to check on it, because I haven't checked on his menu for yet. I haven't made it out there.
Thank you.
What kind of greens do you pickle?
What kind of greens we pickle? We pickled mustard green, we pickled peppers. A lot of peppers. There's so many pickles type of stuff. We do cucumbers too, but it's a different type of pickling where they, where they put the sour rice into it and then it gets sour. They do that. Those are the two common that we do. Cabbage, or we pickle. Those are the common ones that we do. Yeah.
Like how many other farms are growing these herbs, or like specifically medicinal plants, like among farmers? Or like besides producers who are growing at scale for market, is like how common is it in the community to be propagating at home, or doing plant swaps, or like just person to person, or in a smaller community settings, besides like growing operations for market?
So for Hmong vendors, there are tons of Hmong vendors right now at Hmong Town. They're usually outside in the springtime. They're propagating a lot of these. It's not just us. We do have competition, and the reason why I know that is because you always check in their competitions, right? So, but I'm very proud of my own product regardless. We do our organically, and there's people checking and make sure we're accredited for all that. The other vendors, I also check them out, and wow, these are some serious vendors because they have greenhouse like 3, 4, 5, and we're talking miles of greenhouse just doing bone. So in general right now, I don't, the reason why I don't do a lot of transplant sales is because I know who my competitors are. But for those that do want to buy organically, they let me know, and I just do it pre-orders and I get just amount for that much, because I don't want to propagate, put all that effort into it. Because you start thinking about, I know it's not all about money, but eventually at the day, your labor and everything that comes with it, you want to make sure you get enough for just this customer. We have regulars that come every year that will order from us. And I forgot that half of your other question.
Like, aside from commercial producers who are growing at scale for market, like how common is it just in the community to be growing these plants at home or sharing in a community basis? Just for cultural preservation or just home use and that kind of.
Every Hmong person has a little herbal chicken diet. That not everyone knows how to preserve it, so it'll die this year and they'll come back and more next year. But me disclosing, a lot of people don't like what I'm teaching because I'm disclosing the perennials and they don't want perennials to be taught. But the thing is, we want to save money and you want that strong root and that perennials can grow back every year. And the stronger it is, the less likely for you to purchase again, right? And we could always split it, right? And so, but I don't mind teaching the perennials because we need to know that. We all need to own a little bit of that, so we don't have to. It's costly to keep buying every year. We don't see a lot of people sharing it, because they want to keep it a little patch. But for me, I'm not stingy. Come over, I'll give you one if you need one. I'll take it. I don't have any like transplants sitting around, but it's all in the ground. I'll dig out the other half and eventually I'll split it, right? So, that's, they do share. I mean, family to family, they'll share, but, there's also shaman that sells it or shamans that don't sell it. But if you do ever ask an herb from a shaman, it is very spiritual that if you don't give them, you don't have to give them for that price, you give them $1. It's almost like an exchange for a health. But I don't want to get into that, but if you find out they're a shaman, $1, $5, they're not gonna ask you for anything. They're just gonna give it to you. So, especially in the Hmong culture, it goes that way. And you go there and there's a shaman that gave you 100 plants, don't give them $100, they're not gonna take $100, just give them 10. Yeah. So, it is very common for exchange, but I usually don't go directly to shamans either. But if I usually go directly to vendors because you don't know who's a shaman out there, and they get really, and I think there's a spiritual part that have them tied to their plants too. So it could be, but they're not going to tell their shaman either. Sometimes you don't know, right? So yeah, but it is very common for people to exchange and use it. Right now, if you go to any Hmong family. That love plants, some people don't have any because they just prefer not to plant it, or it doesn't, and a lot of modern children nowadays were very fond to just landscaping, we don't have anything else out there. I used to be like that, but right now it's I myself am suffering my own anxiety, mental health ailments, right? And so I think it's almost like a pathway to these. So every family has a plant. So take my word for it, check out your neighbor, and if you do have some Hmong herbs in your yard, can I look at it? And I'm sure they'll show it to me. Yeah. Okay, another question. Well, I hope you guys all learned something today. And if there's anything, definitely call me, email me. I don't have a website. It's hard to keep up with the website. I have a very generic website on Canva. But I don't really update that. All my work is on Facebook. And it's very random because I do photography. I throw it on there. I weed out my garden. I tell you about my life on there. So if you want to mute me, just mute me. But I do announce some of my events on there. Okay. So thank you all for coming to listen to me today. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
If anybody didn't get the herbs on your way in, feel free to take one on the way out and also grab the little bits of paper in front and rest. I won't be here till